Hi there Photoshoppers, welcome to another video in my Photoshop Essential Skills series. Everything you need to know to get you well and truly started on your journey of discovery with Photoshop. Now, as Easter is upon us here in Barnsley, and I suppose it must be in a lot of other places as well, I thought it right to have a tutorial with a bit of a festive feel. So in this video we're going to be making an Easter card. Now, to do this, we'll be bringing out all the big guns. We're going to be using layers, effects, blend modes, gradients, text, and loads more. Are you ready for this? Okay, now don't forget, if you're a fan of the printed page, there is a free ebook and work files to accompany the video. Just click on the link in the More section under the video to download them. Okay, let's get started. Okie dokie then. First thing we need to do is to create a new blank document. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up to the File menu and click New. And then I'll leave it on Custom. And I'll set the actual units to inches. I'm going to put a 4 because I want it 4 inches wide and 6 inches high. Resolution, everything else I'll just leave the same. And I'll click Create. And here we've got our empty piece of paper to start with. Now we're going to use a guide. I'd like to know exactly where the centre is. So the first thing I need to do is to make sure my rulers are on. Now my rulers are on here. If yours are not on, then if you press the keyboard shortcut Control and R, you can turn the rulers on and off. Or you can go into the View menu and down to Rulers. There you'll see is the keyboard shortcut. Now once the rulers are on, you can change the units of the rulers. And to do that, if you go and right click in any ruler, you've got these choices. And I want to choose percent. So now I've got a 50% line here. And I'd like to mark it with a guide. Now the guides are like living the rulers, and to get one to come out to play, what you've got to do is go into the actual ruler itself, click and drag. And then when it gets to 50%, it should just lock in and snap into place. I'll let it go. And there we've got a guide that's going to tell me exactly where the middle of this composition is. Next thing I need to do is to make an ellipse. And to do that, I'm going to go down to nearly the bottom of the toolbox here. And I'm going to select the ellipse tool. And I'm going to make sure that I'm on that 50% mark there on the line, and I'm just going to click. And that's going to bring up my Create Ellipse dialog. And in here I'm going to type in, let's say 640 pixels and a height, let's say 1000 pixels, something like that. And then I'm going to click OK. And there's my ellipse. And it's a little bit off the centre. So I'm going to get my move tool and bring it back again and just wait, and it should snap to the centre like that. So I've got it in the middle. I'll just bring my layers panel on so you can see them. So now we've got a background layer and we've got our ellipse layer. Now we've got a lovely ellipse, but it's not exactly egg-shaped. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. It's no yoke, is it? So we need to modify this ellipse. Now we just need to make sure that the ellipse layer here is active, so I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to go to Edit and Transform and Perspective. Now if I drag one of these top control handles here and drag it in, the top should go in. The other one should come in exactly the same amount. This is the perspective feature. And I'll drag the bottom one out, and what I'm looking at doing is trying to get that centre handle there roughly at the edge of the paper, so something like that. And I'd like it just to squish in a little bit more at the top, just to make it a little bit more egg shaped. Not that much, but something like that I don't think looks bad. And when I'm happy with how it is, I can double click inside the transform, or you could click the tick on the tool options bar. Okay, now what we're going to do next? Well, that white background looks a bit naff. So let's tart it up a little bit with a little bit of colour. Now I've got a background texture image here, and I'm going to try and get that in, and I'm going to do it with the move tool. So I'm going to click on the move tool, I'm going to click and drag it up to that tab, just pause a minute, keep my finger on the mouse button, and then drag it back and then let it go. And if it's not exactly registered, you can see here if it's not exactly in the middle, I'll just click and drag it to drag it into position. And then of course it's in the wrong place, it's above the egg shape in the layers panel, so I'm just going to drag that down, and so it comes underneath, and that looks a lot better. Very springy looking, that. Okay, next I think I'd like to add a little bit of dimension to the egg, try and make it a little bit more egg shaped and, you know, a bit 3D. Now to do that I need a pixel layer. So if I click on the ellipse layer here, this is actually a vector layer. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to right click and duplicate layer and just accept that as the name. And then I'm going to right click again and I'm going to click rasterize layer. And what that'll do now, that'll turn this layer into pixels. Now for the moment then I can turn this ellipse layer one off because I don't need it. Okay, next I'm going to be using some gradients and fills and things like that, and I'd like to restrain them to just within the confines of the egg. So for that I'm going to try and create a mask. Now for that I've got some pixels on this layer here. So if I hold the control key down or the command key on a Mac and I click on the thumbnail, I'll actually create a selection now of exactly where the egg pixels are. And now all I do is I go down to the bottom of the layers panel to where the add layer mask icon is, and I click it, and I've now got myself a mask that will restrict anything I do just within the confines of the egg shape. Now I'm going to be using a black and white gradient here. So what I've got to make sure of is that my colours, my foreground and background colours are set to black and white. And if they're not, all you've got to do is press the D key to reset them to black and white, and then the X key if you want to toggle them round. Well, I want to toggle them round again, and I need black as my foreground colour and white as my background colour. Now I'm going to select the gradient tool from the toolbox. And then up in the gradient picker here on the tool options bar here, I'm going to select the first one in the gradient editor, which is the foreground to background, which is my black to white. I'm going to click OK. And what I need is a radial gradient. Now these are the 5 different types of gradients. The linear. What I want is a radial gradient, which is the second one along, which is this one. So I'm going to click on that to have a radial gradient. Now I need to make sure my layer's active, and then I'm going to create a gradient, and I'd like to try and get a little bit of a specular highlight about this position, something like this. So I'm going to click and drag down to this corner and then let go, and there you'll see that's not bad. That's given us a nice little bit of 3-dimensional form with a little bit of a highlight going off up in this corner here. And you can see here we've now got our radial gradient, but it's limited wherever we have it. It's limited by wherever the mask is, so we don't see it outside of the egg shape. Now that's cool, I can live with that. Now the colour doesn't look too exciting on the egg, so I'd like to try and get an eggy sort of colour to it. So I'm going to use an adjustment layer. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the layers panel, I'm going to hold the Alt key down, I'm going to click, and I'm going to select hue and saturation. Now that's going to give me a little dialog box where I can rename it and do lots of other cool stuff. The only thing I really want to do is this piece here. It says use previous layer to create clipping mask, and that's what I want to do. I want to put a tick in there because what I want is this layer to be clipped just to this top layer here. So whatever I do, whether I change the colour, it doesn't affect anything underneath it. And I'm going to click OK. Now there you see that's the clipping icon there, so you can see that this layer is now clipped to this layer. Now I'm going to tick the colorize box, and that's going to put a little bit of a colour over my egg, and I'll select, say, let's say 30 in the hue, let's say a 40 in the saturation, and we'll go for a 10. Oh, I think that don't look bad. Okay, we've now got a nice egg looking egg. Now I think our progress up to date has been excellent. Ooh. Okay, now we need to give the egg a bit of an Easter feel with some more colours. So what I'm going to do, make sure that I've got the top layer active, and I'm going to put a new layer empty at the top of the stack by clicking the new layer icon down at the bottom. Now I'd like, again, anything I do to be restrained to the shape of the egg. I don't want it spilling out around the outside. So I've got a mask here that I can use, so I'm going to click on that just to activate it. And now if I hold the Alt key down and I drag the mask, I can drag it up and I can drop it onto that layer. So I've now copied the mask onto this empty layer where there isn't anything yet. But now anything I do will be restrained by that mask. Now I'm going to add a pastel gradient, and that's from the pastel group of gradients. Now if I go up and click on my gradient editor here, you'll see in the presets I've not got much. I haven't got anything that looks vaguely pastel-y. And this is why some of these gradients, they actually come with Photoshop, but for some reason they're not installed. So what I'm going to do with this little cogwheel here, if I click on that, I can install any of these extra ones, and one of them is called the pastels. So I'm going to click that, and when it says do I want to replace the gradients, then no, I don't want to replace the existing ones. I want to append them because I want to add them to the end. So I'm going to click on the append button, and then we'll see that my gradients, my pastel gradients, have been appended to the end here. Now I'm going to pick one, say, what's this one? I'll just hover over it to see what it says. Yellow, pink, green. Oh, I think that sounds a bit Eastery. So I'm going to click on that one to get myself that gradient up. And then I'll click OK. And there it is in the gradient editor. And again, I want a radial gradient, so I'm going to click to make sure that's in place. And then I'm going to create the gradient. And what I want to do now, I'm going to click, make sure that top layer is active, not the mask. Make sure that top layer is active because that's where I want to put this. And then I'm going to click on the top of the egg, and I'm going to use that as a guide and drag right down to the bottom and just let go. Oh, I think that looks quite cool. That's really giving it a little bit of a boost. Now all that's left is to blend these colours with the shading from the egg beneath it. And what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to change its blend mode. So I'm going to change the blend mode of that top layer now down to hue. And that will blend the colours nicely in with the shading from underneath. And I think we're going in a good direction. Okay, I'm getting very excited now at the prospect of what we're doing. So next, let's add a little bit of an Easter bunny. So I just happen, in true Blue Peter fashion, to have a little bunny here. I'm going to get my move tool and I'm going to drag it and drop it into my composition. Now it's a bit big, so I'm going to use transform. So I'm going to use Control and T, and then I'm going to hold the Shift key down, so I'll transform it in proportion and get it something like that. Let's just jiggle it about a bit. Just get it somewhere in the middle. Yeah, and I'm happy with that. Now I'd like to distort it a little bit to just make it look as though, try and give it the impression that it is actually stuck round, painted on this egg. So I'm going to try Liquify. So we're going to go to Filter and Liquify, and it'll bring up the little rabbit on its own layer. And the tool I'm going to use is this one. It's called the Bloat tool, or you can just press the B key. And what this does is this brings everything out from the middle. It bloats it out, as opposed to the pucker tool, which sucks it all in. Okay, now I need a nice big brush, so I'm going to make my brush nice and big. I think something like that. And then I'm going to go onto the rabbit's nose, and I'm just going to click, and maybe a little bit down, just click 5 or 6 times, just to give it that look of being curved. Okay, should we try a little bit of the forward warp tool maybe? Just to nip it up there a bit and nip it up there a bit. Oh, and shall we just bend that ear down a bit? Okay. And when you're happy with that, and I'll press OK. And there we've got our little bunny rabbit. And it does have a little bit of a feel that it's actually wrapping round this egg, because we've done a little bit with Liquify. Okay, next I'd like to try and do a little bit of blending. So I'm going to try and blend the rabbit into the egg. So I'm going to again be looking at the layer blend modes, and you can try lots of different ones. Oh, don't think that's much good. Colour burn, it's alright. Oh, darker colour's not bad. Yeah, I'm going to settle on darker colour and leave it like that. Now, as original gradients on the egg created a little bit of a specular highlight, little highlight area up at this top corner of the egg, if an egg had corners, but this top area anyway here. And I'd like to enhance that a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put another layer on. So I'm going to go to the new layer icon and click it. So I've got a nice new layer at the top. And again, I'd like whatever I do to be constrained to the insides of the egg. So I'm going to use this mask again. So I'm going to click on that mask. I'm going to hold the Alt key down and click and drag and copy it onto that layer. And then I'm going to click the layer because it's a layer that I'm going to be using. Now what I'm going to do, I need to get white as my foreground colour. So I'm going to press the X key to toggle white to my foreground colour. I need a brush, so I'm going to click on my brush tool. I need a bit of a soft round brush, so I'm going to select one from the panel. And then I need to make it a little bit bigger. Something, maybe not that big. Well, yeah, maybe that big, something like that. And what I'm going to do is just put a couple of little clicks, just to click down, just to enhance that little bit of that thing, that specular highlight. So it looks as though the rabbit's actually sat there. So I'll do another little one at the top there as well. Another one. Yeah. Okay. And then I think what I'll do is I'll just go back to the rabbit layer and I'll just reduce the opacity just a little bit. I'm just trying to make it look as though, yeah, it's actually on the egg. Okay. I think I'm happy where I am there. Now next I think I like a little bit of separation between the egg and the background. So we're going to do that with an effect. Now all the information that we've got on the egg is actually on this layer that we created earlier. So I'm going to click on that just to activate it to make sure that's where we are, and then I'm going to add an effect. Now I can do that by double clicking here in this little secret button, or you can go down to the FX icon. I'm just going to double click here, and what that's going to do is bring up my layer styles panel. And I'm going to try let's try an outer glow. I think, where's it gone? The outer glow. And on this one, let's just play around with these sliders. We'll put the opacity up and we'll put a bit of noise on, just giving me a little bit of a rim round it. And this size we'll have up. Yeah, we don't want it too much. If I put it too much, you see I get a real separation. I just want a little bit of a hint of a separation of the egg and the background. Okay, I think that's a good position, and I'm going to click OK. Next, I think I'd like a shadow under here somewhere, just a little bit of a shadow to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to do that. So I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to click on the top layer, and then I'm going to add a new empty layer. And this is what my shadow is going to be on, so I'll call that shadow, just so I don't get it mixed up. Now I'm going to reset my foreground background colours, because I want black and white. I'm going to use a little bit of a gradient to do this. So I'm going to press the D key, and that's reset them for me. And now I need to go to my gradient tool. And I need to go back up to my gradient colour picker and select foreground to transparent, and then click OK. And then I'm going to drag out just a little gradient. It's a radial gradient, so if I just click and drag, and oh, that's the wrong way around. Okay, let's edit and undo that one, and we'll take the reverse off. And now we'll click and drag, and we should get a little bit of a gradient like that. That's cool. And then what I'm going to do is transform it. So I'm going to Command and T to transform. While I'm doing that, I'll move it down to the bottom and get it on the center, and then I'll stretch it out that way and stretch it out that way a bit, and just register it in the middle. And I don't think that's bad, so I'll double click to accept it. And then what I'll do is I'll just change, have a look at the blend mode. Let's have a look at luminosity. Yeah, that just lets a little bit of that green through around the edges. And I might just take the opacity down a little bit. That's better. Now I'm happy with that. Okay, now to finish it off, I think I'd like a bit of text on the top. So I'm going to select the text tool, and I can do that by just hitting the T key or clicking the T here for the horizontal type tool. And I'd like quite a chunky font, so I'm going to pick this Gill Sans Ultra Bold. And if I click on that, I'm going to make sure that black is my foreground colour to start with, and then I'm going to type happy, and then a return, and then Easter. And I'll drag that back so it just clicks into position in the centre, somewhere there. I'm happy with that. And then I'll press the enter key or click the tick up here to accept that. Now to finish off, let's just make that text look a little bit happier. So I'm going to do that with some styles. So I'm going to double click again in this little secret button area to bring up my layer style panel. And we'll start with a drop shadow. So we'll scoot to the bottom and we'll double click on drop shadow, and I'd just like a little bit of a drop shadow around the outside a little bit, so that it just gives us a little bit of separation. So let me distance, let's move the angle so I can get it going in a particular direction. So this is the light coming this way. Oh no, that's not very good really. Let's look at the distance, put it away a little bit. There we go. And we'll change the spread a little bit. Okay. And then let's try a gradient overlay. So in here I've now got access to all my gradients. So I'd like to go back to my pastels again. So I'm going to go down to the bottom and choose one of these. Let's say we'll try that one. That's not very good, is it? We'll try another one. Or shall we have that one? Oh, that one. None of them's really looking that great. Let's try something a little bit punchier. Oh, that's not bad, not bad. What about that one? Oh no, I don't like that one. What about that? Oh, yep, I think I can live with that one. Yep. You can choose whichever gradient you like, whichever you think suits, and I'll click OK. And then the opacity, I'll leave that around 70%, and I'll click OK. And there we are. Our Easter card is done. Our work here is done. So we've done an Easter card using multiple layers, effects, blend modes, gradient, masks and adjustments. I think I now need to lie down in a darkened room. Well, that's it for this video, Photoshoppers. I do hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up or leave a comment under the video for me. Or if you're feeling really nice, share it with a friend or two. Don't forget to check out the more area under the video for the link to any download files or free ebooks. And please click the subscribe button so when I upload a new video, you are the first to know. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.